Mr. Sheyi, good to have you back. All right. Just let me welcome our audience back to this episode of the training. We are very, very sorry that we are starting this late. I think I have to put an apology on board. We had issues with our main speaker who's supposed to have started the section almost an hour ago. And we have to improvise with another great and well experienced speaker just because we don't want you to miss this episode of the training. And that is why we call upon our great speaker, our boss, Mr. Sheyi Olawumiju, to take over the section. And we are happy to have him here. Mr. Sheyi, you are most welcome from the United States of America.
United States. It's good to be back home. It's good to be back home. And just as Fukola said, we want to apologize for that. When the speaker, I think the speaker apparently were not able to get to contact him. Sorry for him on trying to get us acquainted with AI, but today we will be talking about AI, a symbol of change. So I'm going to do a demo on one of the Microsoft AI tool that is popularly known as AI Foundry. However, I'll share my screen now. I don't know whether you can hear me, but if you can hear me, that's perfect. If you can hear me, that's perfect. Will be sharing my screen. So, share my screen. That's fine. Let me just share my presentation. So please confirm whether you can see my presentation.
Yes, Mr. Sheyi, I can see your presentation. I'm also sure the audience will be able to see your presentation.
Okay, thank
So
you.
you have yes, I can be able to see your screen.
Okay.
And I'm also sure that audience will be able to see your screen too. You have the floor. Please go ahead, sir.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Popola. So, as I said, we're going to talk on an improvised topic called artificial intelligence symbol of change. And just in context, my name is Oluwase Uluwawumiju. I'm a Microsoft variable professional and also an MCT. I'm a cloud expert and running through three aspects of from the infrastructure, which is my background, to the AI as in the cognitive services and the AI solution with M365. Now, today we're going to look at this agenda greatly. We're going to spell it out into four major categories. One, we're going to go a little bit history because we want to look at the change that has occurred over the time with AI, and we're going to look at machine learning as a background because initially when AI came up, we have a lot of things that came up via machine learning. Machine learning aspect, the building block for all the models. We're going to try to look at it in a very, very introductive way. Then we're going to define AI from that concept, and we're going to narrow it. I think the topic we are supposed to look at is the generative AI, but we're going to narrow the two kind of AI that's out there, narrow versus general AI. We look at real world application of AI, then we do the demo on AI Foundry. Now, What is artificial intelligence? I know most of you are masters, and some of you are just beginners. Some people are there to learn. And looking at that, there's something that should come into our mind. When we talk of artificial intelligence, we are actually looking at a way to make a change. It's like a revolution that came to bring about our daily life routine into a more uh, a more efficient and giving us a more powerful optimization of what we do daily and making it to ensure that it lacks no delay in terms of automation, in terms of imitation. So AI generally is a way by which human is imitated in terms of your intellect, in terms of your solving problem, in terms of complexity of our future, making our life and work to be more efficient. And we can't talk of AI without talking about some building block. One of the building block of AI is machine learning. And machine learning is the way by which we infuse the data we have and bringing about the technology to revolutionize and transform what we can do. And that has cut across several industries from the healthcare to engineering to disease diagnostic, etc. And that makes us to know that AI now can be accessible. AI can be accessed by anybody. So it's a building block of bringing people together from students to developers and to the real world problem solving. Now, let's take a dive to history. Historically, the father of public health statistics, Mr. John Grant, who died in 1940, started the change that we are seeing today. What he did then, there was an issue in Metropolitan London. What was the problem? The problem was that people were dying in trickle because of an epidemic that happened in London, that is UK, England. And that was consistent over a period of his years, those years in 1640, 1639. And that was very, very evident, and they could not have a way to define in terms of mortality rates, in terms of the people that are dying daily, in terms of cumulative number of people that die probably over the months. They need something to be able to justify, ensure, get a analysis of what is happening in that trend. So it discovered and created a more an the London metropolitan days, the mayor and the people governing those days to be able to know the pattern of disease, how death is coming, and who has died over here. And that brings us to the narrative we have today. Generally, we see a lot of things. Biology, if you have been in the science in those days, we talk of evolution, and evolution formed the concept of biology. Make sure, ensure that human beings were a predefined from the ape family. And what that means is that people constantly changes from the ape family to human. But we are seeing another change now. We are seeing another change coming up. And that is a change that brings about a transformation of the human into the computer illustrative, imitative program, which is called AI. And that AI can actually do everything that human can do. And we know AI doesn't sleep, doesn't eat. That means that we have a consistent efficiency across our pipeline. And that tells us that digitalization that started from the cloud evolution, where we see that computing power, availability of storage can be done by a third party, where people like Microsoft, AWS, and cloud provision has been sitting. All they do is to be able to give us services oriented services that runs across all our core infrastructure need, from the storage to the applications, etc. And we also saw an avalanche of data, which is converging, which in terms is called big data. What does it tells us that info, and that tells us that with these two combined, get a near close ground. Where you have Maya that turned to another animal, we see some. So all those things that are superficial in terms of what we see in the movies has coming into reality here. And the first AI was done in 1980, where we have the expert system. And that continued to the time when IBM infused its algorithm into what we call IBM Wisdom. Then Google started in 2012, while we now see Amazon coming in 2015. Now, generative AI, which was the symbol of OpenAI that was brought in by Microsoft, became limelight is around 4 or 5 years ago. So, telling us that we need to begin to analyze this. Now, let's quickly go into some basic now. Let's look at machine learning. I consider machine learning as a human, what we learn from history. For example, when I was growing, what do I learn as I grow? Whatever I learn as I grow form my decision. That's why they said experience speak better than even all your strength. So machine learning was built on this premise when Turing was trying to start with the first machine learning model. He looked at human experience and knows that as human continue. Now, this example of Mr. Shola now, Mr. Shola here has an object in front of him, which is a car, a red Volkswagen car. For him, that's an object he cannot forget. Now, when you go around, And you ask Mr. Shola, what do you see there? And you give him different description of objects like blue car, a Toyota car, a bicycle, a bike. By default, the influence that will come from Mr. Looking at his memory level is that the object you are showing me is the Beetle car I bought in 1959. That is a simple example of what Tony was trying to practice. Now, let's now take a dive into the farmland. Probably I went to one site in Ondo State called Igbekoda. And if you have been to Ondo State, Igbekoda is one of the local government area from the riverine area. And at that point, I brought someone from Igbekoda into Lagos. I showed him the car, the same car, and I said, Mr. Igwekoda, what kind of car are you seeing? What object are you seeing? Now, don't blame him. What he will tell you is that what I have been seeing probably is the fish, the boat, the river, and that is what is in his experience called. For him, that actually is what he will tell you as the objects of what he's saying. Now, if you now compare these two guys now, the first person, Mr. Shola Mr. Shola, sorry, that was in Lagos that bought a B2 car in 1959, he was able to identify this object because he knows the color of the object. So the question now is that what are we talking about in machine learning? We are talking about a way by where we gradually imitate our experience by having collective data. This data, we observe it and we learn. We observe it and we learn. And that learning brings about what we bring into the influence as our output, which is now what we know as the AI revolution. Now, let's take Mr. Igbokoda now, that is from rural area in Ondo State, that brought him to Lagos. And I showed him that this is my car. You can drive this car. This is what you can do with this car. Now, with this now, I've been able to make Mr. Igbokoda, I've trained Mr. Igbokoda to learn different kind of cars, the Toyota car, the B2 car, the bicycle. And I asked him this question, what is this red object? I can tell you because he has learned, he has been able to look at what is happening. He'll be able to identify, to show me, despite the fact he's from the rural area, that this is a beauty car and is red in color. So, generally, we are saying that when we begin to inject data into model and the model begin to train himself to understand the pattern of what we are injecting, we begin to get information and output that is near the bull eye. And that is what machine learning is all about. He'll be able to tell you when you ask him, is it about the fact he is not from the city? So, what am I saying? What is machine learning? Machine learning is actually an automation process by which we constantly train, inject data to learn over time. It can be addition, it can be multiplication, it can be. So any operation can come as long as the machine is giving specific instruction. And that also can bring us into several things. Comparison, data A to data B compared to data C. We can also plot it in a chart, what is happening, to be able to define the decision curve we have. So, in nutshell, we are still looking at, we're talking about AI, a symbol of change, and we are diving into history. What is this? And one of the history we are looking at, which is the symbolic of AI, which is machine learning, and we are trying to trade the way human experience things over the years and how they develop this experience to become an objective decision. What is machine learning? I can rightly say here is a way by which we act like a human to identify objects, to know the cost of the objects, to know what has happened. Now, when now begin to look at making it close to human, things like what we call natural language understanding comes in. How? ChatGPT is a typical example. We can ask ChatGPT, hello, how are you? And it will define himself to tell you, I am good. ChatGPT is a machine, an algorithm that was created under generative AI, but was able to respond as a human, telling us that when we now begin to infuse certain capacity into the AI model to be able to look at human and talk like human, it can define the present, that can define the past, and can also give us a futuristic instance. Another way we can look at machine learning is to be able to recognize humans, faces. Now, all of us use different smartphones. Have you ever wondered why your phone be able to recognize you when you use the phone on with put the phone and create what we call an identity through the phone? It recognizes your face, and that one another aspect of what the model that machine learning can do. Now, bringing it to context now, we can say here, what do we do? Just like I brought Mr. Igbokoda from rural area in Bokoda in Ondo State, in the riverine area, that's never seen a car. He can only see the water, the boat, and the fish. I was able to teach him how to identify an object called a red beetle. The same thing here. We can actually know what we need to do, what we need to provide, and how to identify objects. All entails into our algorithm. So machine learning also is now bringing what we call data and training those data. No, the data, as I said earlier, when I was bringing the pixel configuration of a human face, I was able to tell you that the fusion of the algorithm, which machine program, and the data brings about the commission, the creation of the face. The same here, what machine learning does is to bring data and you train those data. And once you train data, the data become what? A set at which you can compare, you can add, and you can subtract. And that's also bring about creating what we call you can now create a complex or a simple executed program on those data, which will be impactful to make the change for the human to see. And that program will help us by building also rules on it. And those rules are programmed to identify each of these data sets, to know when to have it, to know when to use it. And that extra pattern brings about what we call we bring it into relationship, and definitely that brings the answer to the question that the human is asking. So what now is to be able to define historically, and we move ahead to look at some basic intro into machine learning, which is the bedrock of what we call AI. Now let's define AI. AI is a way by which we do what we call a simulation, imitation, a near perfect of human intelligence into machine and into programs. We want that program to think like a human, to learn, and to make decisions as a human. We also need The AI is now a way by which we now bring what we call an algorithm, which is built on the learning process of our program, which is called machine learning, to create what we call a model that be computational, that can analyze, that can recognize pattern, and can create continuous automation processes through its self-driven autonomy. What are the core character we can define this change called AI? One, ability to solve problems. Two, adaptability, to adapt. As you infuse those data, you start training himself, you start adapting, you start knowing, you start growing, you start becoming more close to the person in question. It also begins to interact with you under a natural language understanding. And five, the fourth thing that in terms of the core character of AI is the perception, e.g., the computer vision, being able to see, recognition of speech, speech recognition, how to transform, change sound into text. All these are some character. Now let's look at some breakthrough that we have seen over the years. You can see a lot of breakthrough that we started from the model turning brought out 1950 to creating complexity of how we reason in terms of AI, creating more deep algorithm into deep learning, bringing about what we call embedded devices, ensuring neuron program that can bring complex algorithm into one fusion, and also robotic, which is now something very close. I watched a movie, a clip somewhere in Facebook recently, where we can see the robots cleaning the home, cooking, and doing a lot of delicacy. These are some involvements that is happening. So we can break the key component for for AI, looking at Microsoft as a core concept here. One, Microsoft built all its AI model under a machine learning algorithm, and that system constantly be improved through a service they render. Now, as we close today, we are going to look the demo area. We're going to look at this AI Foundry, which is one of Microsoft offering that are built under the machine learning model and has been programmed to be able to and bring efficiency into the have. Then we have the natural language process, which is NLP. Now, this where we now want to bring human understanding close to human conversation. And that's what we are seeing chatbots. More chatbots we have now, the one we have, ChatGPT, the Copilot, etc. Then elongating and extending it into vision, where we can have a way by we can recognize people, object, interpret it on the go. Then we can see robotic, where we bring machines into physical human form and bring the intelligence that we have from the program infused into this machine. Then finally, deep learning, which is more advanced in mimic human, making it close and ensuring that human can talk the text and create objects that are near to human perfection. Now, looking at where we started from, the history, understanding machine learning, the bedrock, we are moving close to look at different type of AI. Now, I define these two type of AI as is obtainable. Now, the first one is a narrow AI, which is sometimes being defined as a very weak AI, and that started with when if you have ever used Siri or Alexa, these are AI that can have conversation with you, but they maintain high efficiency, but however on a single algorithm task. So what they do is that they build on a system that generally is narrowed to certain specific function. Example, can narrow it to be able to give you movie like Netflix. Alexa, can you play this movie? Or Siri, can you go into my document and tell me what is happening? And these are really general, not really expandable, but it's very efficient. Now, the second type of AI, which is stronger, which is the general one we're seeing here, which is called aim at bringing human tasks embedded in intellectual and AI algorithm, is still developing and is still constantly developing. It's not in full blow now because we are still seeing this change that constantly is being brought. So let's look at the characteristics of these two types of AI. Now let's start with the narrow AI, which we can actually see it as a present, what we see today. As specific, um, it operates on a predefined defined algorithm. If you see a shape that is oval, if it's a shape that is colored orange, if you see a shape that has seed, whenever you build that kind of algorithm, what it means that if an apple that he has seen that is an orange as the output. Now, this requires several improvements. As you can see, generative education has built on this model, like facial recognition, self-driven cars, medical diagnosis that we can see all over the world. Even in our M365, we can this spam filter and being able to define what and what happened in terms of attack received from an email system. Now, let's look at general AI, which I said is the future, and it's more a way by which we bring complex infusion into just not just one task, but having the way human reason. Human generally is built on a multi-task reasoning capability. So we want to infuse that, and that's what the general AI does. It's a consistent, continuous adaptation of the model to learn over time. As long as there is data, it keeps learning. It brings about creativity, generative AI, getting those information and creating a near use to it. Then other things that we can see from here is advanced robotic, which is still gradually coming. I know Alan's more from Tesla, and if you have gone to see, if you have seen his latest car or we have driven one of his car, you know that a lot of things is coming into the mobile. That are just some general things that are coming infused into the general AI. Now, let's begin to round up as we go close to the demo. Let's look at some real world application of AI as we're talking on the topic of the symbol of AI as a change. One of that change that we are seeing is the healthcare. Now, a lot of change has come and is still coming with Copilot infused and agent being built across most of the health facility. We are going to see a lot of revolution that will come in terms of how we take care of ourselves, in terms of disease detection, in terms of personalizing our health change. For example, I know what I need to do. I know when to see my doctor. It's personalized to me. And we are going to also see some robotic surgery, which sometimes a lot of responsibility have to be put in place there because we know that AI, despite the fact we want to do for the good of human, then a wrong application can cause a lot of harm to human. So we must infuse, and that's what I like about Microsoft solution in terms of the AI provision. It's all embedded into responsible AI. Now, we're also going to see about see a lot of health assistant telemedicine that which is all around. In England is prominent now. In Israel is prominent, and we're going to see that impact across our accuracy in terms of diagnosing diseases and reducing cost in terms of what we need to do, because AI can help us to do it instead of importing, deploying doctors across the world. We can also use an algorithm that can do similar job. Also in finance, we're going to see a lot of revolution in finance as a symbol of change. One of them is being able to determine the pattern at which we can determine who should have a loan. Um, how do we determine um, fraud aggregation or fraud detection? Um, it's also going to bring personalized financial planning in terms of what you buy, what you need to do. It can advise you, and it can also help in creating what we call services that we can see. An example is Leo that we have seen in the chatbot, and other agents that are going to be created in the recent time with the agent revolution. And also, e-commerce is one of revolution that we are going to see. Although it's already in place when you have gone to Amazon or Netflix. I always use this example. Sorry, I might look. I like cheap products. Not that I like cheap product. I always go to Jumia for cheap products. And I noticed in the recent time that Jumia, every time I come online, they already set me up for what I can buy cheap. What has happened over time? The algorithm they use or the model that they use, I've been able to see that in terms of uh, my purchase power, my trend in terms of what I buy has been turned to what is low in cost, and they'll be able to push that to me as my main offering. It can be on any, it can be quality, it can be product specific. So what we are seeing now is a personalized product recommendation that will come via this AI algorithm. Autonomous checkout in terms of improve experience when it comes to customer and reduce cost for business. And another way we are seeing it coming very handy is in transportation. Air transport now with an agent, I can get my ticket. I don't have to go to any airline. The agent can be able to accumulate certain different airline and tell me. And if you have ever used all this agent solution, that's something you have to know. They can bring in four different airline, map it into your offering. What are they doing? Because they know your costs, they know what you want, they know your decision, and they're able to map across each of these airlines and map it into one offering and a bundle for you. We're going to see a lot of involvement, real-time data that is coming through traffic management, prediction of how cars should move, when they should move. And we can see drone now in Amazon use it to deliver services, even boxes across homes. So before we let's just quickly just go to the demo area, and we now set ourselves. If there's any question online, I don't how much how many whether I still have time, but I'll, Mr. Popola will let me know. So I've already logged into my Azure. So I just want to demo one of Microsoft AI provision that we have out there, which is called Azure AI Services, which is onboarded into what we call AI Foundry.
Mr.
Now,
Shea, you have
AI
just
Foundry.
8 minutes more.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay,
Right.
thank you very much.
So I think
Okay,
as
so I think I can still do some demonstration on this. So we're going to look at AI Foundry and how do I get to this platform. We know I went to portal.azure.com. Then um, I have to have I have to have subscription because it's subscription based, and each account you can have one account that can be mapped to several subscription. So for this, I have subscription already. You can see if I don't have, I will not be able to have access to my services. So once you have logged in, you can actually get to Azure AI Foundry by typing it here, and it will bring all the lists of AI. You can see this uh, find symbol here, which is the Azure AI Foundry, or you can go to the create resource. Then from when you click on create resource, you type Azure AI Foundry, and the same thing happen. It help you. But one thing about the resource creation is categorized into different category. Now you can find the category you're looking for, which is Azure AI Foundry. That's another way you can create your services through there. Another way you can do that is when you have there is the all resource. When you click on all resource, it brings you all the resource here. Sorry, not all resource, all services rather. Under all services, it puts all the services there. It's also categorized into category that you can see. If you click on Azure Machine plus Machine Learning, you see where we have the Foundry, this traditional machine learning when they started, the Azure Search, and you see a lot of services that are populated here. So I always like to go through the search bar, which is more convenient for me though. Then once I am there, I need to create a services under the Azure AI Foundry. So now, when you want to create a service, Microsoft has upgraded this. In the past, you just create a project, but now you can create it on in a hub. Now, what is the hub? What is the context of hub? Hub is where we have grouping of all different projects you are running on Azure AI Service or Azure AI Services. Then you have it in a container, and you can also map it to your compute management, your security, and your connectivity. So it's better you have a hub created. So I'm going to create one hub. Now, in creating the hub, it takes me through a particular pattern, and those patterns, if you are used to Microsoft, is called I call it the nest syndrome. That means ability to follow certain automated form that takes you to building block of your solution. So now the first thing it tells you, now we have several steps. He asks, it needs you to have your input. We start with the basic, which start with very important, your subscription. Do you have money? Two, you have where you group all your resources. And mine, I group it under this. You can create a new one if you want. Then stating the obvious, Microsoft Azure, where the AI services is built on, are built on several regions. That means Microsoft provisioned this over 65 regions across the world. And each of these regions actually has these services to ensure proximity and to make sure that you can easily have access to these services. So I will just leave it on West Europe as a default. Then I need to give it a name, just as our program today is, I think, Azure Community, make it small letter, Azure Community Series. Let me make it long. Let's just leave it that way. And that's Azure Community Series. That's the name of this resource. Then I move to the next, which needs to create connective services across all AI services, OpenAI included. Then it push it into my resource group by default. Then I go to the storage. Now, under the storage, I need to add a storage account, and it should be secured by using Azure bot key. And it by default, it creates a name. For me, I can actually change the name if I want, but for this demo, let me leave it as we have at the state here. Then sometimes you might have images that you need to build across it, getting insight on the application. I can actually infuse it into my Docker image, and I can also use Microsoft Home Container Registry if I want. So if I have any, I can add it, but I don't need it for this demo. Then we go to connectivity. How do I want it to have Okuni? Are you still on? You continue. Are you still online? They will not see me again. Okay, if you can hear me, can you see me, please? Okay, thank you. So let me refresh. Sorry, my internet just go. Let me refresh my page. Okay, we're almost back. Okay, so we have to start all over again. Sorry for that. So I get to my I leave it at West. I call it Azure Community Series. I notice I use a smaller case series. Then I move to my storage, allow my storage to be, I don't want to, sorry, my network just went off. So I'm back now. Sorry for that. So I think we stopped at the communication. Now I said there are two ways you can allow access to this your um, AI, Azure AI Hub resource. You can allow it to be for all network or disable it and create your own network. If you have a private endpoint, you just add it. All you need to do is to allow the location, create a name, you create a workspace, you give it a virtual network you have created, the subnet to streamline it. Then you create your DNS configuration to allow proper resolution and revolvement of your IP to the name in question. But let's just leave this particular one. Let's leave it to the public. Now, if it's going out, how do we want it to go out? Now, this is where we determine whether I want to isolate a resource, especially our AI solution, whether I want to restrict it to just the public, or we want to allow it to have the internet outbound, or we want to choose those that could come in or should use it. But I'm going to leave it as a public offering. So so it keep me a public connection. Then encryption in terms of managing it and determining the layer of protection on it. I'll leave it on that by default. Then identity, I've already started with credential based. You can be identity based, but I'm going to use credential based as default. Then I can tag it for metadata if I want. So give it a name and give it a value. But let's just go to the review, and it's going to do a check on it. Once it does a check and all my information is correct, and I will be good to go to create a resource in the Azure AI Foundry Hub. Now, just as I was saying, Microsoft has introduced what we call AI Foundry Local. Now, just the digression, the AI Foundry Local is more of bringing it to core area that actually might have challenge with infrastructure, with internet, just as you saw some few minutes ago, my internet just went off. And you still want to have services on Azure AI, OpenAI services, and you want it to be localized. Please try to look at that. That might be a topic you need to look at in future. Azure AI Foundry Local. So it's deploying. It might take some few minutes. I don't know how many minutes I still have. I think I still have some couple of few minutes to do this deployment. You can see it's deploying the key for protection. It's also creating. I have 10 minutes, so I have 10 minutes, so I can still walk through this. I have the machine learning services accepted, the storage account created. So it's still running it. In a few minutes, we get it on. Just hold on for me, and is currently creating machine learning services because, as I said, Microsoft already has built an algorithm for us behind the scenes. So once it's done, I just go to the resource and I have my Azure Foundry Community Hub. Now you can see from the major management area, you can see the activity you have, the overview. It tells you um, your storage. It tells you your subscription. It gives you subscription ID, the vault area you have. You can also check the activity across what is happening. You can define it by filtering, adding filter. You can also diagnose area in case you want to check on problem that is occurring across all the area of the component Foundry. You can also look at visualization of how your resource is being used. Now, this is the simple one I have now. If I bring it up here, you can see what I have is to create an Azure machine learning as a model, and I have it across my services, the vault, and I have the other storage attached to it. So definitely it has helped me. This is what I've done, and the event that has occurred. Then this is where you can change the setting in terms of the properties. You want to look at what is happening. You can see your workspace in terms of machine learning workspace, the subscription you are using, the resource ID, the vault ID, and the rest. Then you can lock it if you want. Then you can also monitor it. Monitoring is essential because you need to know what is happening behind the scene. As you begin to deploy those services, you need to know what is happening in terms of metrics, in terms of developing what we call an alert system that constantly send you information if there's any issue. You can also export the log that you have across your services and your server to be able to know what is. You can automate using pipeline and creating tags or exporting some template in there. So let's go back to the overview because of our time. Let's quickly launch our Azure AI Foundry for the Azure Community Series. So it takes some few minutes to Foundry. These are AI services now. Now, what Azure AI Foundry now does is that it accumulates all the services that you have from the AI services into a hub. Now you can see we have these are hub area, this is an overview. Then the users that can use it is just me now. You can see I'm the administrator. I can add user. I can inherit from other AI services that I have on my tenant. I can create it on a view only. Then I can also have Microsoft AI Foundry has different hubs, and each of these model deployment and endpoint can be deployed into a base model, or you can find where we can define into a fine-tuned model where you actually dictate what you want to do in the review of what you want to achieve with your model. Then you can connect it to several services, and you can create your connection, and those connections can go across several services that is on Azure relating to Azure AI. It can be open AI services, can be serverless model. It can go across even cognitive services and even document intelligence. And also it can also be built on speech. And it can go as well as defining it into some real-time data services solution and portfolio. One of them is Microsoft Fabric. Can connect it here with an access to certain of your index content or your storage that can use, and you can use ground it with what we call Bing. Now, Bing services now help you to define more of. I always want to ground it with this because it gives me my way out in terms of search and cognitive services. So it's running. So I'll close this while that is there. So then the compute area is where trying to define the new services is still coming up. The compute area, you can also define your compute, create a new one. Now, when you go to the all hubs and the project, you can see I have two hubs here, and it also define the quota I have in terms of storage to be able to know. Yeah, good, thank you. And Okay, so this is my monitoring. You can see these are the services I just created. It gives me real-time information on what is happening with my services. In terms of the classic version, that is when AI was first open AI service was run on top of Tombo 3.5 and 3. There are several models that we have out there, and we can see each of these models here. You can see all the services we have, the quota on our virtual machine. So let's go back here. Let me see whether I can. Okay, I want to ground it with my services, Covenant Tech, name, I call it Azure Community Series. Then I agree with the term, I review. This is where the money comes now, $35 per 1K. So I'm not going to do that. I don't want to eat my subscription. I just want to show you that you can grind it with an external knowledge base. So let's go back to where we are. So let's go to our up now. I know I still have some few minutes. Now, this is my hub. Now, I can have multiple projects on my hub. So let me create one project. Um, let's also call it Azure Community Series Project. So let me create it. That's my first project on this hub. Let's see, once I create a project, I think I still have some few minutes. I don't know if there's any question why that is running. Okay, 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 no question. So let me go back to my setting. Okay, okay. So this is my series pro now that I've created a project. You can see in case I want to add it, I want to allow connectivity from other applications. This is my API key, which is supposed to be hidden. Then I can copy it and send it for any web application, the app that I want to develop with it. It also showcases what I can do in terms of basic exploration, building it directly, seeing what I can do, and different tutorial that you can read. So let's go to the model catalog, which is very key here. The model catalog gave us a lot of model we can build on our AI services. You can see DeepSeek is already here. Version 0324 is already here. You can see Lemma 4 for Meta is also here. You can see other AI APIs that are already here. And you can see all of them in terms of quality, in terms of cost, are all aligned under the model catalog. And you can search for what you have, what you want, and you can use it to build your. Okay, I think then finally I'll just talk of the agent because we're in an era of angelic agents. Now, this is where you can actually get, can create your agent and currently, because I'm using West Europe, that's why I always use US East. It doesn't have any agent in this region, but if I change my region, I should be able to get it. Then this way you can fine tune it. You can get the AY. You can create on web apps and the rest. So I'm going to stop here. I go back. I'll go back to my slide and. I don't know if there's any question. I just have 1 minute. If there's no question, I say the journey begin with you. AI has come to bring a change, and we can see several solutions that we have built.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sheikh. This has been so much wonderful, and that is why in tech we are always being prepared in case of any emergencies. Mr. Sheikh was informed of 3 minutes when our main speaker was not available for some exigencies, and he was able to pick up the challenge. We thank you so much for your time, and we thank you so much for the insight that you have shared. So far so long, I used to know Azure Studio in the Microsoft Studio in the past, until when the funding came on board. People are now asking questions. What is funding come about to do? Because we are used to studio in the past. So, but with the insights we have shared, we can see that there are lots of more capabilities that the funding can do far and above the studio that we used to have
Yes.
before. So we want to thank you so much for this insightful session that you have offered. I received some
Okay.
comments. Somebody mentioned that this is a very wonderful section, and somebody also mentioned that thank you for this insight. I think we have two questions. There is one from Mr. Greg. He said, lovely seminar, but I would like to know the use case for the demo created, what you are actually intended to achieve with the demo
Okay.
build.
Well, the demo I just created was just to create a services, a chat. I was the intention is to create a chatbot that will be grounded with Microsoft Bing, where I can actually relate to certain area of my services. And the service I want to relate to is mapping into one of my document services on training. Then I'll ask the AI service across within my ground with my own data, and it can also go external to have what we call a comparison. That, for example, what's an offering and what can we offer outside? That's just the scenario I'm trying to create, but I couldn't finish it.
Okay, thank you so much. There was another question. It is more administrative. Please, if you have, sorry, not that one. Will this be available after the live? Yes, the answer is yes. This session is on. It is live, and it is being recorded on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and Twitter. So, if for any reason you missed any parts, you can go back to the links that we have shared. On our screen, I've also been displaying our links. Before we end the session too, I will also display our links so that you can find your way to watch them. Or I can also drop our link on the chat so that after the live session, we can go back and watch the recorded session. As of now, we don't have any more questions. Just give us your last departure.
Yeah, as just like the last question asked, there's so many scenarios you can create for using Azure Foundry, where you can have it being able to. It's just like a one shot that can it marries the OpenAI, the AI services, everything you want to do on AI. Microsoft has already captured it, and for us in this region that we are having challenges using these services, we can actually have called AI Foundry Local, which is they're going to deploy it. I think it's already out there, but it's just waiting for it to get to every region.
All right, so that's a good one. For the benefits of the questions, I have shared the link to all our social media platforms. Please take notes to them up
so that
so
you
that
can have
you
access
can have
to
access
other
to
sections.
other
You can
sections.
also
You can
have
also
access to
have
subsequent
access to
editions
subsequent
of our
editions of
study
our
series.
study series.
Please be
Please
informed
be informed
that this
that
series
this series
is holding every
is
week.
holding every week.
We have
We
technical
have
sections
technical
on
sections
Saturdays
on
between
Saturdays
the hours of
between the
10
hours
a.m.
of 10
to
a.m.
11
to
a.m. West
11
African
a.m.
time.
West African time.
And we have
And we have
um, soft skills
soft
holding
skills
on
holding
Sundays.
on Sundays.
Please take
Please
note of the
take
time
note of
that
the
for
time
Sundays
that for Sundays
we are always
we are always
live between the hour
live between the
of
hour
5
of
p.m.
5
to
p.m.
6
to
p.m.
6 p.m.
West African time.
West African
That is
time.
GMT
That is
time.
GMT plus one.
And this is
And this
ongoing,
is ongoing,
and we are
and
very
we are very
accessible, free of
accessible,
charge.
free of charge.
All right, so until
All
next
right,
time,
so until next
when we
time,
shall be coming
when we shall be
on your
coming
way
on your
for
way
another
for
series
another
of
series of
technical sections,
technical sections,
please stay tuned.
please stay tuned.
And for
And
tomorrow,
for
also join
tomorrow,
us
also join us
on this link
on this
for
link for
technical, for
technical se- for sorry
skills,
for soft skills,
so that we can
so that we
complement
can
our
complement our
abilities in terms of
capabilities in
technical
terms of
skills
technical
and soft
skills
skills.
and soft skills.
So please do
So
enjoy the
please
rest
to
of
enjoy
your
the
week.
rest of your week.
Bye bye
Bye
and
bye
stay blessed.
and stay
Mr.
blessed.
Sheyi, we are
Mr.
glad to have
Sheyi,
you.
we are glad for having
Thank
you.
you for having me.
It's our pleasure.
It's our
All
pleasure.
right. Bye
All
bye.
right.
See you
Bye
next time.
bye and see you next